The characters of the Zelda series range from hella derpy to aggressively dark. In this ranking, I won't be including Link, Zelda, and Ganon, since they'd be the top 3. With Ganon falling at 1, followed by Link, then Zelda, I decided to exclude them to make things more interesting. However, characters like Demise are eligible since they aren't a pure Link, Zelda, or Ganon. Sure, Demise is basically the first Ganon, but he's unique enough to be exempt from the rule. And with that out of the way, here's my top 15 Zelda characters. What's good, guys? It's Edible Incredible. Before we get things officially underway, I want to make it clear that even though I'm including 15 characters, there are so many others that just barely didn't make the cut. This ranking was almost as tough as arranging my favorite Zelda songs. So if your favorite character didn't make the list, just let me know who it is and why they're your favorite down below. Alright, let's start with a strange yet charming character. Beetle thrives in the adult timeline, as well as the Minish Cap, Skyward Sword, and Breath of the Wild. He seems to be pretty depressed in the Wind Waker and super cheerful in Breath of the Wild, which is a little odd since the world of the Great Sea is oblivious to a looming threat, while the Hyrule in Breath of the Wild is filled with anxiety regarding the calamity. But these differing personalities most likely just stem from Beetle's alternate upbringings. One thing that's prominent with all the Beetles is his desire to be a salesman, helping the Hero of Wind stack up on fish bait to expand the map, and being a reliable source for arrows to the Hero of Wild. His hilariously random sound effects is what makes him stand out. The Gorons are my favorite Zelda race. I just love how they come across as goofy and affectionate. My favorite Goron is the sage from Ocarina, Darunia. Initially, he wants to be left alone, but once you play Saria's song, you immediately see his playful side. And after conquering Dodongo's cavern, he's thrilled. Brother, you'll keep brushing up on your skills as you travel, won't you? It's such a simple line, but I really like how it embodies what the hero time's journey is all about. And he has hella courage to face Volvagia alone. Sure, it was kind of a noob move, but you can't overlook the final impression he tries to leave with the rest of his tribe. The character that probably has the greatest development throughout the whole series, Groose. He starts off as Link's biggest bully yet, then meets Impa on the surface, and slowly changes from someone who did everything for himself to one of the most selfless characters in the series. At first, his primary motive was simply to snatch Zelda, but towards the end, he comes to terms with not being Zelda's hero, and instead focused on his own role of helping Link as much as he could. The 35-year-old reincarnation of a fairy, Tingle, debuts in Majora's Mask as a map seller to help his father. In the Wind Waker, he loves to rip you off by overpricing the hell out of Triforce charts, even though you were the one who freed him on Windfall. In Majora's Mask, at least he reduces the map prices since you're also a forest fairy. And he appears in Twilight Princess as Perlo. Anuma mentioned that this character was designed to be the realistic looking version of Tingle. Overall, he's widely known for those magical catchphrases. Way back when I ranked the champions, I had Mipha as my favorite, but my taste for a lot of things have changed since then. My favorite champion isn't Mipha anymore. It's now the Gerudo champion, Raposa. I still love Mipha, but the DLC memories added a nice touch to Raposa's personality. She isn't just someone who the princess could rely on, but after Zelda lost her mother at a young age, Raposa stepped in to fill the role. Zelda's mom was a dear friend of Raposa's after all. This caring side of Raposa, along with her badassery, makes her one of the coolest Zelda characters we've ever seen. The Wind Waker was the first 3D Zelda to introduce companions that actually helped to solve puzzles. Between the Earth and Wind Temple, I feel I'm in the minority in preferring the Wind Temple, but the better sage goes to Medli. Her courage to face Valu alone to give her close friend a chance to gain his wings is quite admirable. She's the descendant of an ancient Zora sage who was slain by some Gerudo dude. She was the founding Rito to truly leave a mark on their history. Her name is honored in Breath of the Wild by Divine Beastfall Meadow. Next is probably gonna come as a surprise, The Postman. And not just any Postman.
The Twilight Princess one is lame.
The one from Majora's Mask. I'm sorry, but the Twilight Princess one just doesn't feel as natural. The game has to pause for him to hand you letters. In Majora's Mask, we get to see how dedicated he is to his work. Then on the final day, the Postman freaks out over his schedule becoming jeopardized. I want to flee, but it's not written on the schedule. To me, the delivery schedule, it's the highest priority. He even went as far as writing a letter to himself in hope of preventing this. To myself, you have been doing a great job delivering the mail. I have a request for my hardworking self. All of the townsfolk have taken refuge. I want myself to flee too, even if it is not written on the schedule. I want myself to flee. Please. From me. This doesn't even make himself flee. As you can see, the schedule has completely taken over his life. Luckily, if you go through the events to receive the postman's hat, he will eventually talk to the postmistress on the final night. I have a delivery for you, postmistress. Oh my, it can't be. You're still here? Tomorrow's delivery is still scheduled. What are you saying? Did you see the sky? It's terrible. But, oh my. Well, what shall we do? It's from Cafe. It's priority mail. I'm so happy to think something good would come in the end. Thank you. You flee now. That's an order.
Understood.
I have decided to flee. It's an order from the postmaster. I'm now free. I can set my own schedule. I don't need this anymore, so here, I'll let you have it. I love how relieved he looks as he runs away. Just look at that animation. The usurper king that rules the Twilight Realm. Zant. I love me some dark and creepy villains. Sure, he goes crazy at the end, but I'm fine with it. It makes sense for someone in his position to be crazed by the power he was suddenly granted. He blanketed Hyrule in twilight, and just as Link and Midna cleansed it, he pops up to rip away their progress by snatching away the fused shadow. Probably Zant's best moment, along with the surrender or die ultimatum. Midna would have died because of Zant if it wasn't for Zelda. His character design is awesome. The way he just stands still in front of you is so menacing. And we can't forget the famous neck crack. One of the most mysterious individuals, the Happy Mask Salesman. Widely known for his arrival in Termina, but he also appears in Ocarina as a shop owner. And Oracle of Ages, I guess. Shit, I need to play the game. But in Majora, he's the one who initiated Termina's undoing by letting Skull Kid snatch away Majora's mask. The question is, how the hell did he obtain this sacred mask before these events? We know he's a traveling merchant who has plans in ironically 3 days. The reason this character is so appealing to so many people is how much of an enigma he is. My favorite Happy Mask Salesman moment is when he leaves Termina. He just disappears. The accordion playing Rito, Kass, sings riddles for the hero to provide hints regarding shrines. He traverses all over the lands of Hyrule in hope of crafting new melodies. The most intriguing thing about his past was his teacher, a Sheikah court poet who fell in love with the princess even though he knew nothing would come of it. Naturally, he was consumed with jealousy upon finding out she had feelings for her knight. But when the calamity struck, he witnessed Link sacrifice himself to keep the princess safe. This sparked a change of heart for the teacher. He decided to seek songs of the ancient hero who defeated the calamity 10,000 years prior, just so they can be passed on to the knight once he returned. This was all set up to protect Zelda. With the teacher long past, Kass was the one responsible for relaying this message to Link, the pure incarnate of evil, the daddy of Zelda villains. Demise makes his everlasting imprint on the series in Skyward Sword by casting an eternal struggle between the main trio. This is mainly why he's so high up on my list, as well as the epicness of his fight. So you've decided to meet your end in battle after all. It pleases me greatly to see such misplaced valor, human. Take a moment to appreciate your surroundings, for where we stand shall serve as your tomb for eternity. There's just something about a battle taking place on top of water, just like Wind Waker's final fight. But in this one, Nintendo goes as far as to make lightning strikes a vital influence on the outcome. And I love how they tease the final blow, making it all the more satisfying. The Twilight Princess, Midna, starts off as a strange companion, but quickly grows into someone that Link can rely on. For the longest, I honestly wasn't the biggest fan of Midna. I didn't dislike her, but other Zelda companions were more interesting to me. It wasn't until recently that I've grown to really appreciate what she's about. Her character development is on par with Groose for the best in the series. She was dethroned by Zant and transformed into the imp we're accustomed to seeing. It was somewhat understandable for her to act the way she did after what she's been through. She even used Link to obtain the Fused Shadow, but witnessing the princess risk her life to bring her back so that the hero could have a guide stuck with Midna. During her goodbye to Link and Zelda, you can sense how sincere and appreciative she grew to be. So the first Zelda game I beat was Four Swords Adventures. Naturally, a bunch of the boss fights became super nostalgic, and one figure was implanted in my mind from the game's intro, the most demonic form of Vaati. It wasn't until I played through the Minish Cap that I started to fall in love with this character. Your companion in the game, Ezlo, was Vaati's master, and Ezlo crafted a cap that grants the wearer anything he or she desires. Vaati disobeyed Ezlo and donned the cap, transforming himself into a wicked sorcerer, since his true intentions were filled with curiosity regarding people's lust for malicious acts. His final boss fight is one of my favorites, displaying how Link was first able to duplicate into 4, setting up this mechanic in the Four Swords games. If there's one Zelda character that I'd love to see added to Smash Bros, it'd be Vaati. Now this next one might baffle some people due to how much of a side character she is, but my number 2 is our ranch girl, Milan. She makes her debut in Ocarina. When they first meet, she teaches the hero of time Epona's song, which allows him to win the horse from Ingo in the future. During this period, Milan isn't doing so good. Ingo took over her dad's business and she's forced to deal with friggin' moo-moos all the time. But she puts up with Ingo's ridiculousness and she doesn't want anything to happen to the horses. Once you win Epona, you find out Ingo was afraid that Ganondorf would discover this. So he decided to become a nice person again, leaving Talon and Milan back in charge of the ranch. Thank you very much for the other day. I haven't even asked you your name yet. Really? Link? That's what I thought. You're the fairy boy from the forest. That was years ago. It's highly speculated that Milan got together with Link to create offspring, which eventually spawned the Hero of Twilight years later. After beating Milan's time trial, she rewards you by delivering a cow to your house. It's your own personal moo-moo. Isn't she the best? So I know I've excluded Link, Zelda, and Ganon, but that goes for each game's individual iteration of these characters. For my number 1, he's a hero, but not from the game he appears in. The ghost of the Hero of Time. The Hero Shade. You may be destined to become the hero of legend, but your current power would disgrace the proud green of the hero's tunic you wear. At last, the skills I have to teach you have entered the realm of true secrecy. They are forgotten ways that do not leave our bloodline. Do you not already feel the courage granted by the strength as it guides you step by step towards your true enemy? Although I accepted life as the hero, I could not convey the lessons of that life to those who came after. At last, I have eased my regrets. Those were some of my favorite quotes from the Hero Shade. After passing away, the Hero of Time lingered as a ghost, in hope of finally teaching a future hero the techniques he learned throughout his life. Even though he was successful in stealing Ganondorf, he knew he'd re-emerge since Zelda sent him back to before Ganon's plan went to motion. For a lot of these Zelda characters, the appeal comes from how mysterious their backstories are, and the Hero Shade is no exception. We know a lot about his past life, but how it ended remains clouded in speculation. Everything from the disappearance of his right eye to what he did upon his return home. Was he part of the Gerudo-Hylian War? Did he confront Ganon once more? Or was the war long over by then? Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Can't believe this video is finally at its end. Started this thing like a month ago. Anyway, let me know your favorite Zelda character. And as always, don't forget to stay hyped. Thanks for watching this long. You're great. Peace!